So, um, I've been having a discussion on my ex about the foundation and the theme park and the yada yada blah blah blah. I'll put a link in the description box below because I was talking about how I know there's going to be some children that we have in the program who won't want to return home for obvious reasons. And I had always kind of joked about it, having my X-Men school, but I didn't want to have to do the whole Hogwarts kind of boarding school sort of thing because, it's a lot of responsibility, it's a lot of paperwork, it's a lot of laws that have to be, exacted and, like when it involves, 24-hour care of children, it's a lot more than just having them come for a few weeks and then go home and back to their countries and stuff. But now I can't stop thinking about it. And what if my foundations were boarding schools as well? And instead of being there to learn maths and English and trigonometry and yada flute gluty glue, they're there like a not trade school, like fame, fame. How that was like an academy for gifted artistic kids like that, but a boarding school. I probably shouldn't have recorded this straight after eating. Because we were going to have the summer camps anyway, so what I'm thinking is have in each country with have like an estate where we build the foundation, where we have the camps and that for the kids to come, but then we have a boarding school as well where the kids that are there to learn how to make video games or play music for our movies and all that sort of thing, they would live there. But these are all like indigenous kids and inner city kids and all the kids who wouldn't ordinarily be given the opportunity to be able to like play in an orchestra, or it's like I keep saying, there might be kids there that come to make video games and decide, actually, I wouldn't mind to learn how to bake cakes, and then ends up becoming like an incredible baker, and ends up with their own bakery and that sort of thing. So we would have everything there, every opportunity for them to like learn actual trades and skills, and that are realistic, but that also involve doing what they love and finding what they love and giving them the opportunity to be able to find what they love, and while finding themselves around the safety of mentors and my staff and all of that, who are like-minded, who have been, because all creative empaths live the same kind of life path, like there's abuse and bullying and poverty and neglect and all of that somewhere along the line. We all share the same story, it's just told in different ways in different languages. So our countries will, where we build these foundations, and that I'm thinking, there's going to be kids there that just, it doesn't matter what school they get moved to, they're never going to fit in, or it doesn't matter what shrink they see or what medication they put them on, they're never going to stop getting out of trouble or stop being a hassle for their parents, and that um, because of the fact that they're not being dealt with the right way, they're not being heard properly, nobody's speaking their language. They're too busy being judged and criticised and expected to conform and fit into a certain category or number or spectrum or, grade or school or expectation or social code or whatever. And some kids just aren't born to fit in. Some kids are born to stand out, not blend in. And the ones who stand out, tall poppy syndrome, they're the ones that are being cut down to size, being medicated and, you know, dictated to and controlled and all of that by people who it's the easiest way to put them aside and pretend like they don't exist. Nobody wants to deal with them. Um, I will, because I know, if they are writers and artists and musicians and programming, if they have a skill that they know they're good at, that, that they love to do, where they were just given the opportunity to do it, with peace and quiet and support and comfort and the right kind of nurturing environment, we'll end up with the next Mozarts and Peter Jacksons and, J.K. Rowling's and all of that. So, but it means that, yeah, because I was thinking, uh, there's going to be some kids there that are going to be hard to let go of. There's going to be some kids there where the social workers and, the whoever runs, the whatever at juvie, or a school teacher or a principal that knows that that kid's got a talent, that knows that we would be good for them, that could then, their governments would fund them to send them to us, and then they could stay at the boarding school, do like maybe like a 6 month by 6 month thing, because obviously no kid would be forced to stay there. They wouldn't be forced to stay there. It wouldn't be like actual boarding school. It's an opportunity to give them the chance to get away from the city, from the poverty, from the abuse, from the neglect, from the, the gaslighting and, the not being understood and the medicated and all that, and letting the governments give us the opportunity to purify them and wash them clean so that they can, when they're ready to step out into the world as adults, they're butterflies and not moths. The light of chasing the light of creation and not the light of destruction. So, um, so that's what I'm thinking. And then, the kids at the boarding school would be expected to help out when they went, learning their skills and crafts and stuff. They'd be expected to help out, especially like, with the younger kids that would be coming from, like the summer camp program or whatever. All hands on deck. So it really would be like X-Men school, because I'm going to have like a whole, like a cult department. And yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. So I'm going to have to buy like big estates with land and all of that, and then, if there's buildings and that already on there, that's going to be great. I mean, it would certainly help, because then we could just like mold it and shape it to how we needed it. I wonder how many countries there are with actual towns for sale. I know there's a lot in America, but if we could buy like old estates where it was like a lot of land and maybe like a big manor house, because like we could still do do the games and movies and TV and that inside the buildings. Like, yeah, so I'm wondering whether maybe we should be looking more at estates and then building the foundation around estates. Because on X, there's loads of like abandoned castles and manor houses and estates and that, like scattered all across Europe. And then we could turn them into the foundations and then have the boarding schools, and then these kids could come to us, and then they're no longer a burden, and they're not going to feel like a burden because they'll be around people that are just like them. And then we get to make games and movies and record radio shows, and it'll be one great big arts and entertainment estate foundation, boarding school, summer camp, tourist park thing. And then based on all my books and stories, and then, well, let's just start with building the foundations for now and getting heads and beds and entertainment made in that. And then build it around there. The quickest way to get it done is the simplest way to start it. And we've got a lot to make. We've got to do, the whole Van to Black thing as well. We've got a lot to make. But it means that we can start doing this pretty quickly, as long as we've got the space to do it, to start getting stuff on the servers before Van to Black came out, by which time the foundation will already be established. There will already be kids living there, there will already be people working there, there will already be stuff going up on the streaming servers, like it'll already be up and running. Because if we're only just focusing on like the getting the kids in and getting the stuff in and getting stuff made, and not focusing on no, we can still do some of it, but if we just start with the bare bones of it and then build the foundation around it, once people start knowing our movies and our games and that sort of thing, our TV show, once people start knowing who we are, that's when we can start building the foundation into the estate, and build it from there, which is why we need to buy estates, because then we can put in like the tavern, the bakery, we can add as we go, rather than waiting to have everything to do it all at once. Just start with the bare bones of what's important, which is the kids and the making of the stuff. And then once we're putting it out there and we get a name like Aardman, and eventually one day Disney, that's when we can turn our estates over to, actually bringing the tourists in, because then the tourists will know, who Mr. Hedgehog is when they see him in the veggie garden, and, Miss Mouse's tea house and that. Put the work out there and build the foundation as we go. But for now, let's just get the foundation. Yeah, so it's just because I'm thinking of some of the things I was looking at on X, and there were like big castles and like big stately homes in that had been abandoned. They had a lot of land in that, like scattered all across Europe. So I wonder if any of them would be for sale. Because we could still put in everything that I was going to put in, but maybe just not open it up to the public until people know our work. So it would be like Cadburyland, because he built everything for his staff, like all the shops and everything. It was all for his staff, and then there was is it called Stanley Mills or New Lanark? And New Lanark, shit, those mills there, that man, he built all that for his staff when he built those mills. And that had like a butcher's, that had everything that his staff needed. Other than a pub, they had to go to the next town if they wanted to have a drink, because he liked, the drink was evil. But they had everything they needed right there. So that's what I can do. That's what I'll do. So maybe I need to be looking at places in Europe and that where, and any other country where there's like abandoned estates and that we could maybe buy up and develop into what it is I've just. It can't be. I mean, it can't be that simple to just. But that's a friend of mine that I did a reading for when I was in Santa Monica in California. Did he work for Morgan Stanley? I can't remember who he worked for. He worked for someone really big in, like, banking and mortgages and finance and all of that. And he said to me, when I was telling him about my plans for the art of creation, I mean, this was going back to like 2017, because the plan had always been to, build an art school in the inner city of New York. And I was discussing with him about it. And he said to me, the best advice I can give you is to don't buy anything to build from the ground up. He said, buy something that's already established and convert it. But when you buy it, make sure you own it outright. So he said, like, I'll buy up, old mills and, where there's already like buildings established, factories and, that sort of thing. So now I'm thinking, yeah, he was right. I'm going to look it up now. And then what I can do is I can work with these, we can work with the social services and that, and say to them, like, if there's any kids that that have a talent, it doesn't matter what it is, if it's, even if their musical art or whatever doesn't make sense to them, but they know the kid has a passion for it and has a dream and a blah, 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 like, we're going to be the ones that they would recommend, like, hey, we've got this kid we think would be brilliant, and then they can help us get all the paperwork and that, say to the kid, like, show them around, do you want to come and stay, yada yada, and then take it from there. Obviously no kid would ever be forced to stay, they would be able to leave at any time they wanted. But I can imagine there'd be a lot of kids that would be grateful to be given the escape. And then I just want to put anything that I make into taking care of them all. So I just want to focus on supporting the arts and, the creative minds, and putting all good stuff out there to replace all the bad stuff that's been out there so far with, like, Hollywood and Disney and Nickelodeon and, all the stuff that's going around. So it's all not good, but we're going to take over that industry. We're going to do it ourselves. So now I'm thinking, okay, so Let's be a boarding school. So now I'm going to start looking up estates and stuff for sale. Start from the ground up. Start all over again. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and start all over again. Oh, here we go. Another new plan. A better plan. A more efficient plan. A cheaper plan. But one that will expand the more we grow. The more we grow, the faster we go. So there we go. Merry Christmas, everyone. Mwah.